Well, happy Wednesday. Great to see you all on this call tonight. Rachel and I are so excited that you are on this call, open to learning about this revolutionary phototherapy technology that we were introduced to about 16 months ago. You are going to hear some life-changing testimonials tonight. We're then going to share a slide deck presentation with you, and we will also be opening it up for Q&A to anyone new on the call tonight. But a bit about us and how we got started. I am Beth Blackmore. I'm a health and empowerment coach, having gone through my own health journey over 6 years ago when I started making some significant changes in my life with my food choices, my lifestyle habits, resulting in a 60-pound weight loss. And so little did I know at this time, but this was really the beginning of my conscious awakening. I ended up walking away from my government career in HR, my government pension, due to the lack of medical freedom at that time, to really pursue my passion in helping people to take control of their health. I consider myself a lifelong learner, being open to new information and embracing change. And so about 16 months ago, actually even before that, I started learning about this whole realm of quantum biology, circadian rhythm, harnessing the power of light, thanks to my dear friend Rachel here. So, new habits were established, waking up with the sun, eating shortly after waking. And I feel that embracing the power of light is this next phase of my health journey, of my evolution. And so when my friend Diane Hunt reached out to me about this phototherapy light patch, I knew I had to take a closer look. I invited Rachel on the call, and we were basically blown away by the information that you are about to hear about this technology, the company Lifewave, and the life-changing testimonials. So we signed up pretty much right away. We put our first orders in, and we did what any good daughters would do. We patched our moms. So my mom, who had been experiencing knee pain for years, noticed significant relief in just a few days. She was going to see a physiotherapist 3 times a week, and that physio noticed, more mobility, less inflammation, less pain. And she asked what she was taking, what supplement she was taking. And the only thing that had changed was this light patch that her daughter put on her. Not only did her knee pain improve, but she also started experiencing deeper sleep, more energy, more stamina. She was able to return to her favorite activities, being more mobile, walking, gardening, swimming. For me, the benefits have been life-changing as well. The first thing I noticed that I was finally able to sleep through the night, having vivid dreams, which is unheard of for me. I also used to have this lower back compression pain, this tightness that I dealt with going to chiropractor every couple of weeks. I no longer experience this pain at all. I haven't since about the first or second week of patching. My energy, my mental clarity have improved, which is helping me to keep up with everything on my plate. I also noticed this sense of calm in this crazy world. So that's a huge bonus. But what fires me up is that I know that the best is yet to come. My body is healing and repairing and age reversing, as you will soon discover. There's also an incredibly exciting financial opportunity with the trajectory that this company is taking. So more on that a little bit later. And before we dive into these amazing, powerful testimonials and the rest of our presentation, I would love to invite Rachel to introduce herself and share her inspiring story with you.
Thanks, Beth, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I value you taking the time out of your day to spend with us. So a little about me. My name is Rachel Maurice, and I worked as an anesthesiologist in Canada for just under 20 years. And I left that in 2021 for my decision for medical freedom of choice. Did not think that I'd be gone for very long. But as it turns out, the timing went by quickly, and I started doing a lot of digging and researching on information that was basically contradictory to what I had learned in the last 30 years or was practicing. And in uncovering a lot of information that had been buried, I ended up discovering, as Beth was talking about, the power of light. And I shifted my entire understanding of how the body works and what I had been taught from a physical nature and our bodies being run by biochemistry to one where the primary control mechanism for every single physiologic process in the body is actually light. Now, while this was a bit disturbing to me at the beginning, because it rocked the foundation of everything I had spent the last 30 years doing, it became very exciting very quickly because it helped me transform major issues, including severe fatigue in my life in a very short period of time, and basically for free. And I started doing a lot of digging, and in that ended up, obviously a lot in between, but ended up coming across these patches. They were introduced in that paradigm shift in a community I did not investigate for about a year. It wasn't until somebody that I knew personally and I saw the changes within them, and then got on a call with Beth and Diane. And it was timely because it was divine guidance, the way I see it now, because Diane Hunt was a cardiac surgical nurse for 20 years, and my mom's health decline happened to do with her heart, and her doctors were talking about heart surgery. Now, having spent 25 years in the operating room and seeing everything under the sun, just about every complication, I wanted my mom to avoid any surgery if possible. So Diane ended up sharing with me not just stories, but investigations like echocardiograms and ECGs, electrocardiograms of people who had been in heart failure, significant heart failure, after 8, 10, 12 months of using the patches, no longer being in heart failure. And the degree of that I had never seen in my career, and neither had she 20 years in the cardiac surgical suite. So knowing how light was so paramount, and as we are going to get into in this presentation, nothing enters the body, is purely activating what we already have within us and that innate intelligence. It was a no-brainer to get started. And I prepared my mom to have patience, because we have been so conditioned in our society in many ways, but especially in medicine, to expect things to happen quickly with pharmaceuticals, with surgery, and we want overnight changes. So I prepared my mom to have patience. So to my surprise, within 2 weeks, she went from having to stop every 2 to 3 steps to catch her breath while walking, to walking with me for 20 to 30 minutes on an incline while talking to me at the same time. It made no sense from the previous understanding that I had of how the body worked, but made complete sense from this new paradigm that I now look at and use. And within 3 weeks, she had to have her thyroid medication lowered. So again, this was very different to me from what I had learned and spent 30 years doing and practicing, but very exciting at the same time. I just started sharing left, right, and center because everyone around me was suffering, and started seeing miracles like I have never seen in 30 years of medicine. In fact, the only miracles I ever saw had to do with trauma and acute issues. There was never one miracle when it came to chronic diseases. And now I get text messages every single day with just amazing stories. So I will pass it back to you now, Beth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. Okay, so I'd love to start the powerful testimonials tonight. I'd love to call on Melissa. If you are available and can unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
I sure can.
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
excited. I'm excited and I'm standing.
Love it. Go for it.
All right. All right. So my name is Melissa Murray. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I currently live out in Niagara Falls area. And just over 2 years ago in July, I caught invasive strep A in my leg. And I went into septic shock, and I almost died. I almost lost my leg and my life. Like, it was really scary. And since then it's been, before that I was an avid hiker, 10K a day, plant-based eater, super healthy. And I ended up, in bed, to be frank, I was in diapers. My mom, my 70-year-old mother had to take care of me. I had lost, all independence, and was very, very ill. So, it was to even touch and go with my leg for many, many months afterwards. I had to have many debridement surgeries, on my leg. I was very lucky I even kept my leg. So fast forward to here we are, and one of my best friends, Chris, who I think is on the call, he had, a few months ago mentioned the patch, and, had said, hey, like, I think this might help you. And I was kind of like, no, I'm scared. I don't put anything in my body because, I just been through so much. And he, explained it was non-transdermal, and, you'll be fine. And so anyway, a couple months later, I was, about a month ago, I was like, you know what, give it to me. Cause I was desperate. Like, I'm 47. I take care of myself. I don't drink alcohol. and I couldn't even, driving to see my mom in Toronto an hour away, was super painful. And I would have to, because it is my driving leg, I would have to rest. I would have to go to bed because the fatigue from the post sepsis syndrome, the brain fog from the post, I've had brain fog even before that, and it was terrible after sepsis. I've had migraines my entire life. And I haven't had one, which is, I've never gone like it makes me emotional because I can't believe that I'm, standing here and saying, I've been having chronic migraines since I was 12 years old. And here I am, like every day I was having them since I went septic. Before that was maybe 3, 4 times a week. Whereas, now it's not at all. So, and all I'm doing is putting this, cute little patch on my back, or, sometimes I put it on my wrist. Right now it's on my back for 12 hours. And I'm also able to drive, without pain, which is truly miraculous for me because, like I said, I would have to go to bed when I got to my mom's. I was in pain. I would have to put my leg up multiple times a day, like multiple times a day. If I showed you pictures of, my before of my leg and now, and I mean, even now it looks a little busted, I've got, I've got a lot of scars. But even the inflammation, I have chronic inflammation at the bottom of my leg just from all the surgeries, and it's going away, which is, I thought I was just going to have to live this way. So, I had kind of said, well, I'm not going to be able to drive and see my brother and my sister-in-law and, my niece and nephew. And, I have to rely on other people to take me, which was brutal. And, for the first time, like 2 weeks ago, I drove out there, so it was, 3 hours one way, 3 hours that, like, I would not even have dreamed I could have done that. And then I was there ripping around, like my mom's going like, is there speed in that? Like, what's going on here? Like, because they haven't seen me this full of life, since I got sick and almost died. So yeah, all the, just so many things, my body, I don't feel nauseous. I was nauseous every single day since being sick. And yeah, constant fatigue, brain fog, you name it, I had it, and I don't have it anymore. And probably after I leave you guys now, I'll go, oh no, I forgot to say, one of these symptoms that's not there anymore. And I just feel so full of energy. Like I had to lay down all the time. And I thought, like, I was never like that. I was always the Energizer Bunny. And, I feel like myself again, but even better because I'm able to, live without migraines and just, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like what pharmaceuticals were not doing for me, hydromorphine specifically, was not helping with my pain, and this patch is. So it's incredible. And I've had no side effects either. So just, maybe I'm a little bit more hyper around people. So it's awesome.
I love it. I love it. And so
Yeah.
how long have you been using it, Melissa? When did you
About
start?
a month. About a month ago.
And
Yeah.
you started
So
feeling these effects like relatively
I
quickly.
was a one patch wonder, as was my partner, Jamie. And I forgot, sorry, my chronic neck pain so bad, like I could, my neck to move, it was terrible. It was from a car accident about 8 months before I got sick. And it's gone. Like it's, and every day, like, the first few days, it was like, I would have like, little breakthroughs or whatever. And now, I mean, like here I am talking to you guys at 8:30 at night. Normally I'd be in bed in just excruciating pain from, doing my cooking and cleaning and having to lay down every 10 minutes. So it's like, I've got my life back. So it truly like is amazing. So I'm very
happy for
excited.
you.
Yeah.
I love
Thank you.
it. I love it. Thanks so much for sharing, Melissa. I know you've inspired and given people so much hope tonight, and just so incredibly excited for you and grateful that Chris, I know because he was persistent with you, because I know like all of us were skeptical right at first,
I
right?
was very skeptical, very,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
I'm so glad I did it. I'm so thankful. And thank you, Chris.
Yes. And this is just with the X39 as well, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
this is just
Lifewave,
the
we're going to,
extra. I haven't even
yeah,
used Wave, which I'm going to get just for, because, I do lift weights and stuff like that. And now that I'm able to do it more with, my neck not bothering me either. Right. And I can stand for long, I can stand all day now. So normally
amazing.
I'd be in bed. So yeah. So thank you.
Love it.
Bless
Thank
you,
you so much.
Melissa. Bless you, Melissa. It's been such a long journey. I've been there beside you
Yeah. He's
watching.
been
And
there through it
just
all. Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, no, I just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, as has
Awesome.
my family. A few of my family members are on the call, so they're, they have seen the difference, so it's incredible. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
tonight.
you.
Amazing. All right, I'd love to call on Nikki. If you can unmute yourself and share your story tonight.
Hi,
Hello.
I am from beautiful British Columbia. I'm about 10 minutes from Rachel. She is a friend, and our daughters are best friends. So she introduced me to the X39 patch. It's almost 6 weeks ago, and my life has completely changed forever. I will have this on me forever. I have been to rheumatologists over the last 5 years trying to nail down a diagnosis of pain in my tissues, pain in my joints, heartburn, gut issues. I had a hysterectomy at 40 from endometriosis. I have asthma and have had it since a child. So I have not been a well person probably my entire life. And almost 6 weeks ago, Rachel brought me these patches, and I would say the first 3 days I noticed it was energy for sure. Have not had the feeling of taking a nap since then, which was incredible because the fatigue was debilitating. My heartburn also left pretty much day one. I can have a big meal and I can have a dessert, and I do not have heartburn in the middle of the night, which is again debilitating. It seems like a small thing, but it's not. My joint pain is now completely gone. I do not have any pain in my body. I sleep all night without hurting. My ankles used to swell and they were swollen so badly I couldn't do up my boots. I feel like I could put high heels on. They're looking so good. I just feel amazing. I'm so grateful to Rachel. I'm grateful to Lifewave. I'm grateful to you, Beth, for being on here tonight and such a wonderful team. But the other thing is my daughter, who is 18, and she has ADHD and has been on Concerta, which is Ritalin, since she was 7 years old because our schools didn't allow her to bounce around quite like she wanted to. And she started college this year. She is a straight A student, thanks to the Concerta helping her. But 2 weeks ago, we decided to start the patch. She decided to. And a week ago, she stopped taking her Concerta completely, and she's killing it. She is scheduling her own things. She's getting to school on time, college. She's going after school to work at a local restaurant. She works in the kitchen. She's coming home and making her lunch. She is a completely different person. Her brain is so balanced. It's shocking. It's beautiful. And that was our goal, to get her off of that medication. And I wish I'd come across this a long time ago. However, things, it's all about timing, and this is our time. So again, Rachel, you're just so special to me, and your daughter is so special to me. But I would tell the whole world that this will help you.
Mhm.
It will absolutely help you. So yeah. Thank you
Amazing.
for
Thank you
sharing.
so much, Nikki, for sharing tonight. That's powerful, powerful. Thank you so much. And I actually hadn't heard your story before, so I appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing.
Thank you.
I'd love for Carol now to unmute yourself and share your amazing transformation.
Hello, everybody. Happy Hump Day. Happy Wednesday. So, I was not a skeptic. Honestly, I've heard of phototherapy before, and I've actually used it. My background, my mom was a lay midwife growing up, so and I just I lived the hippie lifestyle. Never vaccinated, never had a flu shot. I've still remained unvaccinated, never had a flu shot. I was raised on homeopathic medicines. My family is half my family's from a third world country. My dad is from Honduras and Guatemala, and my parts of the family from Guatemala, Cuba, so Central South America. My mom is a Native American Indian and Caucasian from Virginia. So we just did not live that traditional American lifestyle. And I was always super active as a kid. I was military bound. I was on my way to being a Navy Blue Angel, which is the Navy's flight demonstration team, a fighter pilot. And I was going to use that to transition as a astronaut to go to Mars. And I even did my first year of college on a full ride soccer scholarship at a military school, one of the oldest military schools in the country in Central Alabama. And then fast forward to October 14th of 2011, I was a flight student at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University here in Daytona Beach, and a friend of mine and me and a friend of mine were on our way back to campus so that I could go to the med office, and we were in a head-on collision. The accident was freak accident. Car just didn't go into the turn. They hit us head on. The car behind us rear-ended us. I ended up having a traumatic brain injury, ton of organ damage. My intestines were ripped open by the seatbelt. The abdominal aorta, my central cerebral artery, my right carotid artery, just massively internal bleeding out. They didn't even realize anything was wrong with me until they got me into the ambulance, because I was actually up, walking around, talking, and completely focused and normal, like nothing had happened. Like I was more concerned with my buddy that was driving than I was myself. Like if I knew something was wrong, because I was in a lot of pain. But and I guess they kind of figured that there was going to be some internal damage, because so they hit me on to the hospital first, because they ended up having to literally cut the roof off the car to get him out. And when I got into the back of the ambulance and headed to the hospital, that's when I started to crash and go. I had lost so much blood. I could literally feel the life leaving my body. Like I was going in and out of consciousness. I was still like hovering between that life and death, because I can remember it. Like I know my life was just fading and I was just leaving my body, but I was able to stay awake long enough to give them vital information. I went into the OR like pretty much immediately. My parents were then called. They came down. It was a 10-hour surgery. My parents got there as I was coming out of recovery. In that surgery, I ended up having 2 strokes. One of the strokes went to the site of the traumatic brain injury, from where I hit my head. The second went to the brainstem. Your brainstem literally controls your entire body, breathing, digestion, stomach, everything. And typically people who have a brainstem stroke, they don't live. And those who do live are a complete vegetable. And that's what the doctors were preparing my family for, whereas, they put me on life support, and I was in a medically induced coma. I was on life support and in a coma for 5.5 weeks. When I woke up, I could not move. I was pretty much, when I started waking up, I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. Like I couldn't roll over, like complete infant, couldn't roll over, couldn't pick my head up, and I couldn't move my left side at all. And so once I was able to recover to the point of actually going into inpatient rehab, I transferred back home to North Carolina, because luckily I am close by near ECU, Eastern Carolina University, and that really good medical system. And like Duke University, it was kind of all relatively close by. So I flew back home. They flew me back home, and I say fly. They did a non-medical angel flight. So I was on flat on my back on a gurney, and they flew me into the local airport, and then the ambulance picked me up and took me directly to the hospital for inpatient rehab. My inpatient rehab was very extensive, and then I continued outpatient rehab. And all the doctors, I was questioning, okay, I get what happened. Okay, now what? Like, I've always just been very motivated, and I don't accept my, just mediocrity and just living where I'm at. I'm just like, no, this is not the end. Like, we cannot stop here. We've got to recover and push forward. So just, what is the outcome? How much time, what time frame am I looking at? And I did so much therapy, and they're like, oh, you're going to recover great, because at the time I had just turned 21 that year. Like a few months earlier, I had turned 21. So they're like, oh, you're so young, you're going to recover great. No, apparently their version of a full recovery and a great recovery is very different from what I had envisioned in my own mind. And so to this day, I am still partially paralyzed on my left side. I'm back at school at Embry-Riddle as an engineer, but I still use a wheelchair 80% of the time. I'm not fully independent. I'm only able to go to school because of the help of my husband. And I also come from a family who has a lot of neurodivergency, and I might have several members in my family who are ADHD, autistic, high functioning autistic. And I was like, when I got here, I started working on getting a device to help me to pretty much force the neuroplasticity and recover better. But that process, and the approval process has been very lengthy, and they've required me to go through rehab again to regain more function out of my left hand. And I was just like, what am I going to gain back that I haven't already gained back? And then Amy and Belinda introduced me to the X39, and I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with light therapy. I'm familiar with what stem cells can do. And I've been pushing to get stem cells here in the US. And I found that here in the US, it's just not available. And I'd have to fly all the way to Beijing, and it's very expensive. And I'm just like, financially, I can't do that. So I was like, hey, I can do this though. So let's use my own body and we'll try this. So I jumped right on board. And pretty much I started patching about a month ago, right when I was starting my rehab for this device. They call it prehab, the rehab before you actually get the device, and then you have to do more rehab after you get the device. And so I was like, okay, just to even get approved, I've got to do rehab. So I was like, so I started it pretty much at the same time I started rehab. And literally the results are amazing. Like my mental clarity is amazing. My therapist, my occupational therapist has even noticed, she's like, I had my hand was literally like balled up like this in a fist. And so I did something called serial casting. And here in the US, it is a new technique where you cast the person's hand in a stretched out position, and you gradually keep on stretching the wrist and the fingers out until you get it to where you need to be. And because I've been doing Botox since 2012, once every 3 months, regular routine Botox in that left arm to prevent the spasticity. And it just, even with that, I'm still so contracted. So to get me where I need to be to get approved, we did the serial casting, which was it's, I wouldn't say it was painful, but it was very uncomfortable. I got through it with ibuprofen because I don't like taking narcotic pain meds. Like I know that there's a time and place for modern medicines and, pain meds and whatnot, but I try my best to avoid those things. Everything that I've seen in my recovery has come from more natural healing properties. And so when I start, like my therapist is like, after the serial casting, she normally casts people once a week for about 5 weeks. She only had to cast me 3 times to get me to where I needed to be. And when she first took it off, the first cast, my husband, I took it off. I was in the hospital because from other related medical conditions. And I took it off, and my husband looks at me and goes, baby, that is the first time I've ever seen the inside of your hand. He's like, I've never seen your palm, like without having to pry my hand open with a crowbar. Like he had never seen it just open like that. He's like, I can actually hold your hand now. And we have been documenting pictures and video, and the progress is amazing. I am gaining function. I'm getting slight movements back in my hand. And this is just with the therapy that we've been doing, the prehab, not even having the device yet. This is just from the patch. I'm like, honestly, I haven't seen results like this I'm coming up October 14th will be 14 years, my 14th anniversary of my accident. I have never seen this much progress out of anything I have done. So I'm just like, no, I chose to do the X39 and the ion patch because I know, when you have a stroke, your brain is just chronically inflamed. So I decided that to go ahead and do both. And I've just noticed so much. The biggest progress is just, it seems like it has skyrocketed my therapy. My mental clarity is amazing. My vision has even gotten better because last year I was dealing with another blood clot in my brainstem. The doctor's like, "Oh, it's not doing any damage. There's still blood flow there." I'm like, um, I don't, I don't, I don't. If there's a blood clot, there's something wrong. And they're like, "Oh, you're just tired." I'm like, because I am back at Edinburgh as an engineering student, so they're like, "You're just taking a heavy course load, so it's just you're fatigued." I'm like, no, there is definitely something going on with my vision, but eye doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with your eyes. Like everything's perfectly fine. We can't help. There's nothing we can do. You just need to rest. I'm just like, there is definitely a big change. Something is going on, and I just couldn't I'm screaming at the top of my lungs here in the US, and nobody is even looks at you until you're like dying. I'm just like, I won't let myself get to that point where I'm just like dying and like 500 pounds overweight and stuff. And then we decide to do preventative. I'm like, no, let's look at the body as a whole and actually figure out what's going on at the root cause. But the X-ray has been amazing. Like my vision is way better. The fatigue is here and hit and miss. I find that if we don't have enough, we're not getting out the proper electrolytes, enough rest and sleep, we will feel it the next day. So getting that cycle and stuff on track and at a good rhythm is been a little bit difficult, especially because the therapist I see is all the way in Kissimmee, so it's like 2 hours away from me. And I've been going 2 or 3 times a week for the last month. And, but she's just, she's like, she's videoing me in therapy and she's like, hey, do you mind if I share this with with other people? Because your results are just crazy. She's like, just, she's like, you could be a case study. So I'm just like,
Carol, yes. And you were talking too about like even movement or sensation in your paralyzed leg that you have been
yeah,
experiencing as well.
I've noticed like at therapy, we get done with therapy, we're like going in the car, to leave one afternoon. And I'm like, there is something on my leg. And typically, like, I also have to wear thigh-high compression stockings to prevent swelling. The blood flow going down works with, with gravity, with the the return blood flow to the heart isn't as strong because my diaphragm's good, but the muscle contractions in the leg are not strong enough to push that blood flow back up to the heart. So if I have sit for a long time, like when I'm in class or a long car ride, I tend to swell really bad. So I'm just like, typically I don't feel anything, especially not through the stocking because they're pretty thick and strong. But this one day, I was in shorts and I'm just like, I am feeling something. There's like a bug on me or something, and I couldn't figure it out. As I'm getting out of my wheelchair and transferring into the car, I just went down, I touched my right leg and I felt there was a hair that was stuck in my sock because my hair is getting a haircut and it was just long, so, and the wind was blowing, so it must have been blowing and touching my left leg and I could feel it. I'm like, holy crap. Like must have been what I was feeling because my husband's like, baby, there's nothing on your leg. But there's nothing. I'm like, I figured it out. It was the hair that was stuck in my right sock that was hitting my left leg.
Amazing that sensation is back.
Well,
That's awesome, Carol. You're gonna
it's
have
not
to,
there,
you'll
but
have to keep us updated with your amazing progress. And it's only been a short time. I think it's only been, you said,
yeah,
a month.
it's been about a month since we've been patching, and I am patching my husband also. So I wear it during the day, and then I give it to him.
Awesome. Awesome, Carol. Thanks so much for sharing tonight. You're going to be on a future call and let us know how you're progressing, but we're so happy for you.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm happy with the results.
Awesome. So
Amazing.
great to hear. Okay, so we are going to get into the formal part of the presentation. I'm going to share my screen with you all. And if you could just give me a thumbs up that you can see that okay. All right. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now that you've heard these amazing life transformational stories, I want to dive into how this little patch is supporting your body through your own body's light. So before I go on, I want to say at the outset that Lifewave products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease or medical condition. This patch is not a medical device that requires FDA approval. It is FDA recognized as a general wellness product. So did you know that? Okay, first off, I did not know this. I'm going to throw some stats at you. 16 months ago, I did not know what stem cells were, but the fewer stem cells we have, the faster we age and the slower we heal. And that's because as we age, we lose healthy stem cells. And this is the healing and the repair mechanism that our bodies rely on. So our stem cells actually go dormant. So by the age of 30, healthy stem cells decrease by 60%. And then by 60 years old, those healthy stem cells decrease by 90%. And not only is the natural aging process contributing to our decline in health, but unfortunately, this modern world that we live in, this modern age of convenience, of consumerism, we are inundated with toxins and chemicals in the air, in the water, in the food, and the man-made synthetic radiation that's beaming on me right now. All of this leads to cellular dysfunction, and our bodies require healthy, active stem cells to heal and repair the body. So stem cells are the undifferentiated cells that turn into any cell that's needed throughout our body. So they become your heart cells, your lung cells, your liver cells, your hair cells, and even your brain cells. And sure, we know that there is stem cell therapy, but as Carol, our friend, mentioned, it's hard to come by. It's risky also. It's expensive. And it's only about 50% effective because they stay local to the injection site. And where do those stem cells come from, right? That's the question everyone should be asking as well. What's at the end of that needle? So this is why regenerating your own stem cells is exciting and why this phototherapy patch is such a powerful option. So how do we activate healing with our own light? Well, phototherapy is nothing new, and it's actually something that all living beings depend on. The sun is nature's original phototherapy. It's actually signaling our bodies to make essential vitamin D, and it also signals other vital processes in the body. But photobiomodulation is a type of light therapy, phototherapy, that uses specific wavelengths of light to stimulate the cells that promote the healing process, that boosts energy production, reduces inflammation, improves blood flow. It also helps with tissue repair. And what is exciting is that it's accessible, it's non-invasive, it's affordable and risk-free. So now what have I told you? That these little light patches use this specific type of light therapy to increase a naturally occurring copper peptide in the body. Well, that's exactly what the X39 patch does. So through this process of photobiomodulation, this little light patch increases the production of human, so our own GHKCU copper peptide. And this is known as the holy grail of age reversal. So it is not synthetic peptides that you are injecting. These are not exogenous. These are your own, naturally occurring. And unfortunately, just like with stem cells, GHKCU also decreases with age. So this unique copper peptide was actually isolated back in the 1970s by Dr. Lauren Picard. He's a researcher, PhD, and so there's 50 years of research to back it up. You can dig and find all kinds of research about GHKCU and all the amazing benefits of it at pubmed.gov. There are thousands of research studies there for you to tap into. So some of the incredible benefits that we know about GHKCU is that it boosts collagen and elastin production. Again, this is our own collagen. It supports tissue repair and regeneration. It's known to have multiple anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, anti-pain, and even anti-cancer properties. GHKCU is also known to reset over 4,000 genes in our genome. So basically resetting your DNA to a younger, healthier state. But what's truly exciting is that GHKCU activates our own dormant stem cells. They come back to life. And it does this through the power of this patch. So X39 from Lifewave is a wearable phototherapy patch about the size of a quarter. You can see it here on my wrist. So this patch consists of organic materials, amino acids, sugar, water, oxygen, and salt that form this crystal lattice structure that reflect these wavelengths of light. And what I love about it, what sold me on it, is that there is nothing on this patch going into your body. So they are non-transdermal, they're latex-free, they do not contain any drugs or chemicals or stimulants, so they're safe to use without interfering with any medications. So there are no contraindications because nothing is being absorbed into your skin, into your body. It is a completely different mechanism. So this patented product uses this process of photobiomodulation, so it is activated by your body's own infrared heat. We are all light beings. We all emit a low-level infrared light. We are all warm to the touch. You see those movies where people wearing those night vision goggles. I mean, that's what they're seeing, is that infrared light, that glow. So think of this patch as a mirror reflecting specific light frequencies back into the body, signaling biological changes at the cellular level, including upregulating GHKCU and reactivating your stem cells. So now that you know how this works, I'm going to turn the mic over to Rachel to walk us through the incredible benefits of the X39.
Thanks, Beth. All right, so these are only some of the benefits written down here. And this is basically based on the fact that we are increasing that GHKCU copper peptide. So that is the power, and it is our own GHK. So there's over 50 years of research on this. So this can be found in PubMed, and you can go research that and find out even more benefits. So it reduces inflammation and pain. Inflammation is, for those who are not aware, fundamental to almost all chronic diseases. So while it's not the root cause per se, it is pervasive and across the board. When we have inflammation, that's when we exhibit symptoms and become labeled with diseases. So imagine being able to reduce that inflammation. We can actually alleviate the symptoms and even reverse diseases. And pain, reducing pain, we've already heard about pain testimonies. There are so many. And 30% of the population at minimum walks around with chronic back pain. There are so many more chronic pain syndromes. And I know because that is a subspecialty of anesthesia. And so it is a huge issue in our society. So imagine being able to alleviate that. And as we heard also today about not having to take pain medications, there are so many other than narcotics that people are on. I used to see before surgery, going through patients' medication list, sometimes half the medicines that they were on, and most people had about 20 different meds, were something to do with helping alleviate pain. So imagine being able to do this naturally, not having any of the side effects, complications, and other issues, downstream problems that come with that. It improves strength, stamina, and energy levels. So while that is great for those of us that are falling apart, maybe, it's also beneficial for those who are wanting to take their athletic abilities to the next level. So there are sports players, professional sports players, Olympic athletes who are using these patches as well so that they can get that extra edge on their competitors. Improves muscle and bone density. So that is something that declines with age. I think we are all aware of osteoporosis as we age. There's a lot more complexity behind that, but this helps to improve bone density, which helps with us being able to bear the load and as well be able to exercise and not have to worry about brittle bones. Improves mental clarity and reduces stress. And this is a big one, I would say, because mental clarity, I sent a couple of testimonials to my mom whose friend is actually going through severe dementia right now, and she just had a conversation with her, and it really takes away from our ability to connect with people. And that's really, especially as I would say, especially as we age, but a lot of times when our body is not keeping up with our mental faculties, we want to at least continue to have that connection, that ability to communicate and spend time with people. And when that starts to fall apart, it really isolates us and can have ramifications and downstream effects for the rest of our health. And reducing stress is a big one as well. I mean, stress is a huge one that impacts every single person and is a part of every single disease process, and not even we don't even have to call it a part of the disease process, but really we can't heal when we are under acute stress. And while we might not necessarily think we are under acute stress, our mind, our thoughts, our emotions can actually stress our body without all of the other things. But we need to allow our bodies to get into a state where healing can take place. So this helps with that. Balances hormones and eases anxiety. Hormones is a really big thing now, at least in my age bracket, with going through perimenopause and menopause. And I've seen countless friends have things completely regulated that they've spent years trying to in other ways. And again, that anxiety ties into the stress as well. Now, improve hair growth and skin appearance. While that is really nice, and it seems like it's more to do with vanity, it has to do with an increase in collagen production. And what we see on the outside is actually representative of what's happening on the inside. And while we think of collagen as having to do with our skin, hair, and nails, it actually goes much deeper because collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. It's actually 70% of the protein in the body. And it makes up the entire infrastructure, the connective tissue, the fascia that actually connects every single cell, and not even just cell to cell, but even inside the cell. And one of the reasons this is important is because that forms the infrastructure for the communication pathway in the body. The way collagen is structured is these three fibrils wind around each other called a triple helix. And right because of that, inside the water, there is a nanotubule of water and light travels through, one of the mechanisms is through the water network in the body. So now we have this super highway of communication. And the way that our body expresses health is to have proper and appropriate communication between organs, between the brain and every cell in the body. So the collagen is so much more important than the way we look at it on the outside. Promotes cellular repair and wound healing, and improves sleep quality, which is, again, I know I've recently heard this in the last couple of days. Somebody said to me, well, I haven't really noticed too much except my sleep is really great. And what I would say to that is actually quite amazing, because sleep is, and the quality is important, because that's when that's when most of the repair and regeneration takes place. You can have 8 hours of sleep and get the right timing, but if the quality is not good, you're not going to be doing the repair and the fixing that actually needs to take place. So the long-term effects, within the first few days, over 4,000 genes begin to reset to a more youthful state. So you heard this earlier on. And what exactly does that mean? Just to give context, in the early 2000s, there was a research study done called the Human Genome Project, and they wanted to figure out how many genes were in our genome. And what was discovered was 20,000, which was when you compare to 4,000 genes being reset out of 20,000 is a huge amount. They thought they were going to find more, but I'll leave that for another time. Now, just to give more context to this, you might have heard of the chemical resveratrol, which is found in red wine. So there's attention given to that because there are benefits to this compound, and it's been bottled and sold in supplement stores. You can go to your local store and grab a bottle of resveratrol. Now, the reason that it has been given so much attention is that it resets 2 genes. So now when you look at that, you compare 2 genes versus over 4,000, I think it's 4,192, but you can see this can have a much bigger impact. Within 6 weeks, the brain becomes balanced. So what does that mean? It means the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain are speaking to each other again. And often what happens when we get inflammation and other toxins building up is there's a disconnect. And like I said earlier, communication between the brain and cells of the body is how we can express health. Within 3 months, collagen is increased, as I talked about earlier. Within 6 months, the heart reverses in age. And I love how David Schmidt says, this is not anti-aging, it is age reversal. So how to wear it. This is a great one. It's one of the best things I love about this, because anyone and their dog, and yeah, I mean their dog, can wear it. It's literally a sticker that you peel the backing off. It's the size of a quarter or a loonie, wherever you're coming from. And you stick it on your body. We'll talk about wear in a minute. You wear it for 12 hours. You take it off. You can put it on your dog, which is what I do afterwards, or in a plant. There's a great story about that one recently. And you take it off. You go to sleep. You wake up the next day. You put it on again, and you wear it for 12 hours. You put a new one on, sorry, I should say, and you repeat. Now, people often ask, well, how long do I have to do this for? And is this something I have to do for life? And one of the things that I do say to that is, when you go to your doctor and they tell you you've got diabetes and you have to take this pill, nobody questions your doctor saying you have to take this for life. Or you've got high blood pressure, and you have to use the high blood pressure medication for life. Those don't actually help repair anything. It depends on your goal for what you want out of this. So if you're anything like me, I'm going to start backwards. I normally go the other way, but if you're anything like me, I am all about prevention. I spent 30 years in the hospital. I've seen just about every single disease and complication. And unfortunately, the complications that happen with interventions from medicine, I don't ever want to have to go in there if I don't have to. So I will do everything in my power to keep myself healthy. And right now, because of the way the world is, with all of the toxins, as we talked about earlier, our body needs support. So this is something that is my preventative tool. It is, to me, it's the easiest, simplest, and most beneficial that I have come across. So that's me. But the research shows that 97% of people see an effect by 90 days. So really, if you want to give it a try, I don't like to use the word try, but the minimum time would be 90 days to see some sort of effect. When people come to me and say they want to try it for a month, I actually tell them to come back when they're ready to commit to 3 months at minimum. The recommendation really is at least a month for every decade that you've been alive so that you can get the full reactivation of your stem cells. But as people that I have now have become friends and even more business partners, seen them wearing these for longer, the longer you wear them, the more benefits you get, the more age reversing you actually get. So it all depends on your goal. You want to make sure that you drink plenty of water and electrolytes. So this is an interesting one that comes up as well, hydration. So we see people, tons of people walking around with water bottles saying they're drinking 2 liters, 3 liters, 4 liters of water a day. If you're just drinking plain water, it's just going right through your body into the toilet because your body can only absorb so much and the rest gets peed out. But when you add electrolytes, which don't have to be powdered electrolytes, I'll get to that in a second, but that helps hold the water, more water in the body, and it helps contribute to the negative charge that is actually what our cells need for energy and to be able to hold the ability to function, for our cells to function. So electrolytes really are what I use, and the cleanest way to add electrolytes is really through unrefined salts because they don't have all the minerals stripped away. So you can have sea-based minerals as well as land-based minerals, but electrolytes, in salts, there are about 80, somewhere between 80 and 90 of those minerals attached. And they, again, I'm not getting into the details of this in this presentation, but they actually hold the water. They help hold the water in the body. They as well are part of the light transmission. So the electrolytes are extremely important to add to the water. You want to make sure that because this patch works through increasing the copper peptide, that you actually have adequate copper in your diet. And while that wouldn't have been something we'd have to focus on decades ago, we do now because of the way our food is supplied and produced. So I go to foods before supplements, but foods that are high in copper are at the top of the list. Organ meats, which is probably not everyone's favorite, but there are ways to incorporate it into the diet as well. Next would be oysters. Again, those are amazing superfoods. I personally can't handle them, but seafood, shellfish, and for those who don't eat any of those, there's avocados that are rich in copper, nuts and seeds, in particular cashews and sunflower seeds, and then probably everyone's favorite, a small square of dark chocolate, but I would limit the chocolate due to the caffeine. So if you've got kids who don't like any of those foods, which happens because kids are picky, what I do with mine to make sure that they're getting everything that they need, I use desiccated beef organ supplements. That way it's bioavailable, as well as there are the correct balances of all of the other nutrients in there as well. Next slide, Beth. Thanks. All right, what to expect. This is another interesting one because, as I said earlier, we are a drive-through society, expecting results immediately, wanting things to happen right away as soon as we take them, pills, surgeries, etc. There's that famous meme where you have people lining up for the pill or surgery on one side, which is a huge lineup, and the other side's lifestyle change. And of course, there's nobody in that lineup. So this one, again, while medicine has lumped us all into one big group, and that's how evidence-based medicine is practiced by using research studies with thousands of people, we are all actually individuals, and we should be tailoring everything towards our own individual body and how it works. So we come to this world with a different set of genetic instructions. Every single person is different with their genes. We have been alive a different number of years on the planet. We've been exposed to different environmental toxins, whether they be chemical, physical, emotional, traumas. So we all have a different amount of what's going on in the body. And so we are all going to have a different priorities as to what needs fixing and what is going to be healed first. So with this patch, this is the beauty of it. It's just signaling to your body to enhance its own healing mechanism. So the body is still in charge. The body is still going to decide, your own body is going to decide what needs fixing first, how it's going to happen, and what time frame it's going to happen. And so we don't have any control over it. So while you may be wanting to wear the patch and start the patch because you've got some issue with your knee or something with your brain or your eyes, your body's going to decide what needs fixing first. Like my mom's friend he had headaches and he wanted those to go away, but within 2 months, he still had the headaches, but he no longer was wearing his reading glasses. So we really have to leave it up to our own body to figure that out and just be consistent, because you might not always feel what's happening. So many people stop it because they think, well, I didn't feel anything, it must not be working for me. There are countless stories. For example, the last, I think we've heard, now it's the third one that I've heard recently, of somebody who had been in renal failure, kidney failure, and they didn't feel anything while wearing the patches. After 6 months, because they were being monitored because of their kidney failure, they were no longer in kidney failure, but they didn't feel it. So we don't always feel everything that's happening in the body. There's so much going on. So we just really have to commit to using it for that time period. And again, the longer you use it, the more benefits you're going to see. Things are going to happen internally. As I said, the body's going to decide where the healing needs to happen first and in what priority. If you are tired, that means it's working. The way I explain it to people is just like a cell phone. Most people understand that. You've got a full battery. You can use just about any function in that cell phone. But when you start to get to 50% or low battery mode, things start to shut down and you can't use all of the different things in the phone. It's the same thing with your body. So there's a certain amount of energy we need to run our body, and then there's extra energy needed for healing. So if you are tired, your body only has a certain amount. It's basically telling you, stop expending the energy where you don't need it. We need to use this energy towards healing. So just honor that, allow yourself to rest, allow yourself to get the extra sleep, and make sure you're breathing. You're doing some nasal breathing, because that's really how you trigger the diaphragm, and then you get the most oxygen in. And the end point of where that oxygen is used is in the energy production in the mitochondria. That's why it's so important. Thanks, Beth. Here we have real results, and this is actually someone on our team on the left-hand side, and you can see that this is hair growth. Hair growth is a really big one for both women and men. You can see this was over a 6-month time period. On the left, you can see how there are you can see the loss of hair, and over to the right-hand side, you can see over the 6 months, there's a lot of hair that has actually grown in. And we've got someone else on the team whose son had alopecia, which is an autoimmune condition. And one of the things is that there is literally no hair. They tried for 10 years. I think the alopecia was 10 years. They tried everything and nothing worked. And then within 6 days, he started to grow some peach fuzz. And then within 2.5 months, about half an inch, I think it's half an inch, if not more, of hair growth. It's remarkable. This one on the right-hand side is what we have termed in medicine scoliosis. It's curvature of the spine. And this was really, it's astounding. 4 weeks, only 4 weeks of using the patches. And you can see how much the spine has straightened out. Although this does say X39 and Icewave, it's the X39 that is the one that has the regenerative capabilities. The Icewave is strictly just for pain, which often comes along with scoliosis. And here on the left-hand side, you can see this lady has what's called vitiligo. And what that means is just there are areas of the skin where there is a lack of melanin, just the pigment in the skin. You can see the patchy areas where it's lighter. And she said she tried everything, but insert X39 for the win. You can see on the right-hand side, although the color is different, so you might be wondering, well, how's it different? The important part of it is the fact that she's got a nice uniform color on her back. It's pink on the right-hand side, but it's uniform. There is not any areas where it's splotchy or patchy. On the right-hand side, we have someone who had a knee replacement, and this is only 2 days after using the patch, and this is remarkable. I have seen countless, obviously my career, 25 years being in the operating room, I see wounds and people coming back on a regular basis. This is extremely rapid wound healing. And here we have a brain scan of a 77-year-old woman. And again, this is really quick when you think about it. On the left-hand side, this is where she was not wearing the X39. The red shows inflammation in her brain, which a lot of us have, and that can contribute to a lot of issues. And there's a little bit of the dark blue, which shows low activity, but there's even less of that light blue and the green, which is actually what we want. In the middle one, that's only 3 weeks after using the X39. No more inflammation. There's no more red. And there's some more of the light blue and some more of the light green, which is coherence. That shows coherence, which again means that the right side and left side of the brain are speaking to each other, which is what we want. On the right side, this is only 6 weeks after using the X39. And again, no red anymore, no inflammation. And there is a lot more of that light blue and green. So that means a lot more coherence, which means a lot more health.
Awesome, Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel. So now I want to introduce you to the genius behind this incredible patch. So this is David Schmidt, the CEO of this 20-year-old company. He actually has over 200 patents, and he started working with the US government back in the early 2000s. He was actually part of the Navy SEAL survival program where he was creating something that could keep the SEALs, the Navy SEALs, alert, mentally focused on missions that lasted over 36 hours. That's where the first patch of Lifewave came from. That was his first patent. Then through David's networks, he found himself at Stanford University putting those original patches on the US Olympic women's swim team. They ended up having tremendous success and all set personal records. That was 20 years ago. But in 2008, David changed his focus. He realized that the future of medicine was in stem cells. And that's when he began to figure out a way that he could harness the natural stem cells that are inside the human body. So after 10 years of research, $4.5 million later, by 2020, he had received a 20-year patent on the X39. And so the company went from, this $20 million steady state company to closing out this past year in 2024 over 600 million. So a 3,000% growth rate in 4 years. And so Lifewave has been recognized for this massive growth by Direct Selling News, which honors companies with highest year-over-year revenue growth, competing against 100 other companies that are not only scaling their businesses, but setting new benchmarks for the entire industry. Lifewave has received this honor, this Bravo Growth Award, for 2 years in a row now. And so there is really nothing else like it on the market. There's no competition out there. This is a novel product. No one else has this because X39 holds this 20-year patent. So there's a 22-page patent, but this one paragraph really says it all. Elevates copper peptide, activates stem cells, improvements in strength, stamina, pain relief. So the patent is on the structure that I had mentioned earlier, this crystallized lattice structure. This material in the patch, or the patch reflects the specific frequencies of light back into the body. There are clinical studies and research that show the significant increase in the production of the copper peptide GHKCU in the body, measured by blood analysis, urine analysis, other lab analysis. And in order to get this patent, David Lifewave had to prove that it works. So you can check out the patent, the studies, you can do your own research. There are powerful testimonials. There are amazing interviews explaining the technology, explaining the patch. David Schmidt's being interviewed, doctors being interviewed. If you go to this amazing website, thisisitinfo.com. So that's in the bottom right-hand corner there. Again, really powerful testimonials that you can check out. So we've introduced you to this X39 patch tonight. But this actually goes far beyond the surface, right? Because what does it mean when you have this healing going on in your body? Maybe it is this increased confidence that we know that our friends, Carol, Melissa, Nikki, have been able to harness, this confidence that comes when your body is finally repairing at the root. Maybe it's being able to go back to a job you had to give up because of the pain you were in. Maybe it's getting your life back. You're thriving instead of just surviving, or maybe it's hitting new physical goals in the gym, finally leveling up your physical game. And for some, it's even it's more financial freedom with the momentum of this company. So just simply sharing with friends and family, becoming a walking billboard, you could offset the cost of your patches, making that extra car payment, or even creating a life of abundance. This is the power of this patch. So let me show you how you can get started. So Lifewave offers 3 options to enroll. These prices are in US dollars for a month's worth of patches in this envelope that we call a sleeve. So there's 30 patches in each of those sleeves. So first you can enroll as a retail customer paying the full retail price. We often see practitioners in the US set themselves up like this, offering this out of their clinics to their patients. But of course, we want to promote getting you set up with the wholesale pricing of $99 US. So then you have 2 options: signing up as a preferred customer where you are committing to a monthly subscription, or as a brand partner. We recommend the brand partner option because not only can you take advantage of the wholesale pricing, but you can secure a spot on this team and can leverage the incredible momentum that this company is experiencing by building a business without additional costs. No overhead. It's just the cost of your personal patches. And so what we often see, people become walking billboards. They experience the success of the products. They naturally share them with others, and then they can earn a commission. Sometimes they end up building a full-time business. We have many people on our team, including Rachel and I, that saw this amazing opportunity, and we are building successful businesses, successful teams. So signing up as a brand partner, there is no pressure to share or build a business, nor is there an additional investment. You're just paying for your personal patches. And so there are several enrollment kits to get you started. And as you can see with these packages, the more that you purchase upon signing up, the better the value. So the cost of the sleeves decreases considerably for your initial order. Then you can upgrade anytime through those enrollment kits, and you're just paying the difference, receiving the difference in the number of sleeves. That way you can start sharing them with friends and family, your aging parents, loan them out to people as they wait for their order. And having extra sleeves on hand is always great to set yourself up for success right out of the gate. We do have a very attractive compensation plan for those interested in sharing the product. It is a binary compensation plan where you are building 2 teams, a left team and a right team. And to hit that first rank and open up the full comp plan, it's as easy as sharing with 4 people in your life that you love, that you want to bless, and you hit that first rank of manager. It took me a couple of weeks to hit this rank when I first started, but just in August, I did hit the second highest rank in the company, presidential director. Rachel is also at this rank with me. And so in just 16 months with this company, I've been able to surpass the monthly income I earned in my 23-year career in HR. And I'm a newbie in direct sales. So it goes to show that we do have an incredible leadership team that you too can leverage and take advantage of. It's waiting for you. This company is on this massive trajectory, and our team is the #1 team in the whole company. It does have incredible leadership and supports and training and systems in place to grow your business. You do not have to have any network marketing or direct sales experience, just a passion to help people with the freedom model. Health freedom, financial freedom, and time freedom. But it all starts, we know, right, with your health, getting strong and healthy. Without your health, nothing else matters. Health is foundational. So I want to thank you for coming on the call tonight, being open to learning about this unconventional healing modality. I encourage you to please reach out to the person who invited you on the call. They will guide you and set you up with the best pricing and package available. I would love to open up for questions to those new on the call tonight. But to kick it off, my closing question for you is, what if investing in your health gave you the greatest return of your life? All right, so please feel free for those new on the call tonight, because otherwise you can reach out to your sponsor for questions. But those new on the call tonight, I'd encourage you, if you want to ask us questions, please raise your hand. You can unmute yourself. I'm not sure if there were any questions in the chat that we can address there, but feel free to put your hand up and ask away. I guess we covered everything.
Like,
It's
there's
loud
nothing.
and clear. Everything's understood. Yeah, it's a good sign. Daniel, okay, here we go. Do you want to unmute?
Yeah, thanks so much for the presentation. And the question that was coming to me was when Rachel was speaking about resetting the genes, like 4,000 some odd genes. Just curious if you can speak a little more to like what that means in some form of explanation.
That's a great question. And I often elaborate on that, but I was trying to get through just for the sake of time.
Yeah, I get it.
That was the question that I had as well. What exactly does that mean, resetting the genes? And so the way it was explained to me was, I mean, as we age, the genes, they get expressed differently. They're not as, they don't run as well as they do when we're younger. But if you think of like a photographer and they're setting up in a room to take a beautiful image, you've got different lighting in different parts of the room, and that umbrella that reflects the lighting. And then say as time goes on and the usage goes on, maybe some lights have gone out, some lights have burnt out, some are brighter than they should be. They're reflecting in different parts, and you don't have that beautiful image that you used to, that you had it set up um, to capture that beautiful picture. So it's like basically getting the lighting right again. So it's resetting those genes to how they were expressing themselves when we were younger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anyone else want to ask a question tonight? All right. Well, you can always ask the questions to the people that whoever invited you on the call. I encourage you to reach out to them. They can answer your questions. They can set you up for success, and we hope to see you on the team soon. This call will be recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel, Rachel Maurice and Beth Blackmore. Okay, Alix. Okay, do people usually notice a plateau after using the patch for a longer period of time, i.e. a year? Are you both still noticing? That's a great question. So I know, like, for instance, Diane Hunt, who's been on it the longest, she's the sponsor. She's the one that introduced me to it. And she has just seen progression, improvements going on and on in terms of, because she was on it, um, to alleviate her long COVID or some kind of virus that she was fighting. And so she actually would be considered a one patch wonder, where she experienced amazing results within her first day or two of patching, where she no longer had heart palpitations, no longer was able to take a deep breath and whatnot. And then things just got better and better for her. And so I noticed too, I mean, what I feel too is that things are getting better in terms of my stamina, in terms of my energy, in terms of my sleep, in terms of recovery after working out. So I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be with working out, but what I find when I lift heavy, that is something where I'm not as in pain, I'm not stiff when I don't lift as frequently. Yeah, so I just think like the stiff joints and whatnot that I would have, I no longer experience that. I feel like my skin is also improving in terms of the texture. Rachel, did you want to elaborate too on your experience?
Well, what I would say is sometimes people, it's like our health is an onion. There are layers, like it's like an iceberg also, right? That below the surface, we don't necessarily see everything that's happening. We don't necessarily feel it. So things are constantly working, but we might not feel it or notice it. Like, I mean, things like my hair is growing insanely fast. I have to get it cut a lot more frequently. My nails are growing fast. I mean, it took probably about 8 to 9 months for my sleep to get corrected. I didn't have a huge number of issues outside of that. I know that, again, because of the world that we live in and what's in our food, in our air, in our water, and all of the electromagnetic frequencies, I know if I was not using these, things would be showing up a lot more, right? So the longer people use them, the stories are just abound that things that they don't expect or even think. Like, say I don't often talk about this, but I know a lot of people can relate because after I shared the first time, people were like, yeah, I had that issue too. So when I was a teenager, I swam a lot and I'd walk around in bare feet around pools and I got athlete's foot and then the fungus went into my toenails and they were really yucky. I was on like oral antifungals, topical. I tried everything and didn't get rid of it. And I just ignored it because I'm like, well, I'm just living with it. And about 8 months in, I was clipping my toenails and I was looking and I was like, are you kidding me? And it was about 50% cleared up because they get really thick, right? So it's noticeable. So that's something that, again, I wasn't really looking at or thinking, and it's mostly gone now. I would say it's about 80% cleared up. And not that I have beautiful toenails, but things like that, I would say just they might seem little, but to our body, it's like a cell phone. I mean, I don't like to use our body as an analogy to a cell phone, but it's easy for people to understand. There are always little things going on, and you don't necessarily know what's happening, but if you've got something in there that's constantly fixing it, then you won't notice the breakdown. Right. I mean, that's one thing actually my daughter said, how come how come I'm not noticing what some other people are? And I'm like, well, maybe because she's young too and didn't necessarily have issues to begin with, but maybe she would be noticing those things if she was not wearing the patches. And even another example, my son, so he's 20 and he's my kid that growing up got sick like the drop of a hat. Like anyone that came around sneezed on him, he was out. And he was one of those like, oh, I got to be in bed for days. So I hated it whenever anyone came around and he got sick. And he's now in third year university, but last year before final exams, he called me and he's like, I'm getting to finals and my roommate's sick and I can't get sick. What am I going to do? I can't get sick. I can't get sick. And he's in engineering and he doesn't, you don't want to hang all of your whole grade on one exam. You wouldn't want to get sick and just be taken out from that. And we were talking and I said, okay, take this. There are a few other things, but he said, you know what? He said, come to think of it. He said, everyone's been getting sick all year long because he's in Calgary where it's cold in the winter. And he said, I haven't gotten sick once. He said, not once. And he's in the dorm, eating not great food and not getting outside and around everyone's germs. And he didn't get sick once. And he's my kid that gets sick. And that's when I heard right after that David Schmidt was talking about one of his longer term studies that was done, that he had just finished publishing, which was a year after someone would be wearing the X39, and it showed that there was an increase in mitochondrial biogenesis, which means an increase in the number of mitochondria that are made in immune cells. So it's not just about what we notice, it's about what might not be happening because we are using the patches. Hopefully that helped answer.
All right, everyone. I don't see any more hands up and no more questions in the chat. So thank you again it's an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes in with 27 people on the call tonight. So I'm very grateful that you were able to tune in tonight, listen to these amazing testimonials, listen to this unconventional healing modality. I truly feel like we have our hands on something incredible here. It's super exciting to share. So please reach out to the person that invited you on the call, and we hope to see you on the team soon. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care.
See you, everyone.